Good morning, Patty. This is Matt with Meggitt Training Systems.
Hey, Matt. How are you? Good morning.
Doing well.
Good morning. This is Nathan Friddle with Gwinnett County Sheriff's Office.
Yes, good morning to you too, Nathan. I'm looking forward so much to hearing about the trend in immersive training among law enforcement. What can you tell me about that?
Well, I think that the trend in immersive training, especially in law enforcement, is on the upswing and is only going to continue to grow. In my opinion, the quality that you're able to get from the reality that you're able to implement into this type of training because of the immersive nature, especially in simulators like the 300 LE, it gives the officers that realistic training value, which essentially makes it something that is more beneficial to them. They take more away from the time that you designate for them to be able to be in that training environment.
You know, it's got to be great to be able to have that kind of simulation to test your own reflexes and judgment when you're confronted by a situation in a controlled setting.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's how we would like all of them to be, because we're able then to push them to the limits of what we feel that they're comfortable with, and then a little beyond that to really make them see what their situation is going to be like in the real world and have to react accordingly to that. And then once we debrief with them at the end, we can kind of talk about some of the things that were good, some of the things we want to work on. And then because of these systems and the ability that we have to be able to go back and replay, it may be the same scenario, but we can actually make it branch in different ways and give them something that they hadn't seen in the previous one.
Well, Mr. Friddle, I must ask you about how the folks at Gwinnett County Sheriff's Office feel about this kind of training. It must have been a wonderful, eye-opening experience.
Oh, absolutely. We get all of our officers that go through the training with the simulators all come with glowing reviews on what they're able to go through, how much better they feel in going out to do their regular job. And that's regardless of what their assignment might be, whether it's working security at courthouse, working in a jail environment, or working as a field officer. They always feel far more prepared for what they may encounter on a day-to-day basis based on the training they get from these scenarios.
And Mr. Cunningham, I'm guessing that the latest training systems have just taken all of this to the next level. Is that right?
Absolutely. You know, we started with a single screen. The industry started with a single screen back in the early 80s when we were FATS. It's evolved into a 3 flat screen, a 5 screen immersive 300-degree trainer, and soon to be we're going to release a 180 LE for law enforcement, which is a 3 screen. It offers a little bit more flexibility with room restrictions, but the training environment has expanded dramatically. The requirements for officers have only got more difficult. So we find it very rewarding as a company to supply the tools that law enforcement needs inside of this difficult environment and give them the flexibility to then expand on that. So they don't just get this simulator from us and have a simulator that's what they have. They have the ability to expand their content and their training ability far beyond what we offer them. And on top of that, we also work with our law enforcement partners in expanding our library for general use for all of our customers. So it's a very exciting time to be inside virtual training simulators.
You know, this is like the sweet spot with all these things coming out with officers and in the news. It's got to be very exciting for the officers to be part of this system. And what kind of feedback do they give you when after a training session like this?
Yeah, sure. Like Nathan said, it's always rewarding when you put a lot of effort into your content creation, your system development, to get the feedback from an officer that goes through and says, my heart was racing after that scenario. I never thought that a virtual environment could get me so involved inside of this scenario. So it's very rewarding for us. Again, the feedback that we've gotten has been phenomenal, because a single screen system, though they're still applicable inside of the market, The immersive 5 screen really draws the trainees inside of it with the 5.1 audio, so we can put directional sound behind them. We can put sounds that are a little more uncomfortable for the officer when they might approach a house and hear a baby crying in the background. We can elevate their heart rate without them even knowing. We can get their stress levels up and, like Nathan said, take them to that next level and push them beyond to let them expand their abilities inside this environment.
That is fantastic. Last question. How would you describe the future? I mean, are you going into the VR world? What's next?
Yeah, it's we really do follow our lead from the military. The defense industry is looking at virtual reality, VR, and AR for augmented reality. It's an evolving industry. It's neat to think what the capabilities are inside of VR and AR. It's something that we're very aware of, and we're working very closely with the militaries as the system of record provider for the U.S. Army and the U.S. Marine Corps, who are both pursuing avenues on VR. We're following it closely. It's exciting to see where law enforcement might be in the next 5 to 10 years. I think VR and AR is very practical for law enforcement. It's finding that happy medium of what we accomplish in the training environment on faceted screens, the flat screens of the 300. How do we still accomplish that same inside of the VR? The firearms manipulation, the immersiveness, the field of view that we have in the 300. I think once VR catches up to that, then that's when we'll start seeing it in law enforcement. And you know, cost is always a factor with departments as well. So it is something that we're following very closely and excited to see.
Well, I can imagine how rewarding it is to be able to help officers who are faced day to day with stressful and unpredictable situations, that you're helping them in their training and the ability to do their jobs much more effectively. So thank you very much. It's very nice to learn about all of this today.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you very much.